to hit the bullseye. One of the most important and also impossible things that we want to achieve as marketers is to deliver the perfect message to the exact right person at the exact right time. Bullseye. And we try just about everything to get there. But one of the keys to delivering the perfect message to the right person at the exact right time is for them to recognize the message as one that's just for them. In a word, personal. We want that person to feel like we're an old friend telling them about something that they should know about because, well, we know each other so well. You know, it's like the restaurant owner, at that little Italian place down the road that you've been going to for years. You walk in, and if you're with your kids, he knows to give you a huge greeting and seat you at the perfect table with coloring books on the mats for the kids. If you're just with your spouse, he knows to seat you at the far back table in the dark in the corner for two and open a bottle of your favorite Chianti before you even look at the menus. That's personal. And it's the best kind of marketing because it delivers you the optimal experience, one that keeps you coming back for more. Now, digital technology has been trying for the last 50 years to give us the ability of that neighborhood restaurant owner. But interestingly, like so many other technologies, digital marketers have yet to make use of the new tools that can help them realize the vision of becoming the product's version of the favorite Italian eatery down the road. Why? Well, it's mostly because we've confused personalized for personal. You see, what we have to remember as marketers in the digital age is what the Italian restaurant owner knows from experience. The regular customer he greets with the coloring books for the kids and tucked away tables for the romantic getaways are the standard for everyone he recognizes. He has a set number of plays he can choose from for different kinds of customers. To us, what makes it personal is not that he greets us by name or that he knows our personal preferences. No. What makes it personal is that the overall experience means meaningful to us. It's now our unique experience that has been made better because he cared to make us feel that way. In the end, that's what makes an experience more memorable. All other things being equal, we'll always place way more value in an experience that feels uniquely meaningful to us than whether or not it was customized with our preferences. And creating memorable experiences, well, that's the bullseye of marketing. Welcome to episode 8 of Marketing Makers, the series for those that make marketing work. I'm Robert Rose, and I'm your host, and whether you're an independent consultant, a director at a Fortune 100, a newly appointed CMO, well, we're all marketing makers. And this month, we're talking about the personal, the persona, and the personalization of content. Whether it's targeting individual people or accounts, personalization is how we make sure we're targeting and hitting the right content to the right person at the right time. Welcome to Marketing Makers. Oh, hi. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Marketing Makers. It's here we explore in depth the background behind some of marketing's most historical concepts and how they've evolved into some of today's most modern of marketing approaches. And today, today you can see I was throwing darts. I'm trying to get better and honestly trying to sort out how complicated this game really is. So in one of the simplest games of Dart, so here's the thing. Everybody starts with a score of 501. And then you take turns, and each other's scores turns are deducted by the total. Bullseye scores 50, outer ring 25, and so on and so forth, and they're double scores for different things, but you're trying to reduce your score down to the lowest. Sounds easy, right? Well, not so fast, because see here, if a player has 32 to go out and the first dart scores a 16, well, then the second is a 15. Well, that means you bust and the score stays on 32 for some unknown reason. But if they throw something else, it might go lower. So ideally here, you want to score a lot of points, but the right kind of points. Ideally, bisectable by numbers like 24 and 32. It's complicated and it's math, and nobody told me there was going to be math when we started playing this and drinking beer. So personalization in marketing is a lot like darts. It's basically a simple concept made way more complicated than we think. It is simply being able to deliver a message to someone that is unique to them. The goal in marketing is that because that message is special for you, the customer, well, you're much more likely to have an affinity toward it and take the action that we marketers want you to take. Now, personalization depends on one very critical and key foundation. You must know something about the message recipient. In order to deliver a message that's unique to them, you gotta know them. And that's a concept that's as age-old as the concept of marketing itself. Because if you think about it, anyone selling anything tries to know who the customer is and make the proposition special for them. So everyone from the farmer's market vendor that knows your name to the hotel that understands what kind of deals you like to receive, or to even the things how you explain the details of your first date. You remember that? Explaining your first date to your mom in a very specific and very particular way. We've all delivered a highly personalized message to audiences in order to gain the outcome that we desire. And so even going back to the Bronze Age, traders along the more popular routes would offer different products based on the people that took the different routes. In the 16th century, in some of the larger cities, it was necessary to make sure that only customers of a certain, well, let's just call them economic level, would come into your store. And so some retailers would have windows that separated, the riffraff from the richer clientele that would be invited to actually come into the store. Then in the 18th century, stores would often put very particular products in their windows for the window shopper, basically stating that their store was only for a very particular kind of customer looking for a very particular kind of product. This was all early content targeting and personalized marketing. Generally speaking, you can look at the trends in this kind of marketing through 4 historical lenses. There was fragmentation. There were small suppliers that sold goods on local or regional filters, much like what we just talked about with the trade routes. This then led to what we would call mass marketing, led by the Industrial Revolution, of course, and the ability to manufacture products at scale. Well, standardized products were made for mass markets. This was famously the whole idea of the Model T Ford. As it's famously known, it came in every single color that you would ever want, as long as that color was black. And then we got to the era of segmentation. And that was really from the 1920s through the 1980s. And that's when marketing really began to become more sophisticated. Businesses began to look at different models to pitch their wares in different ways to different audiences. Products were targeted along content with demographics, socioeconomic, other lifestyle attributes. Then in the 1980s, we got hyper-segmentation. Now that was fueled by the technology of what? That, you guessed it, right, computers and databases. This enabled marketers to start to communicate with customers that might really be the first truly personalized way. Database marketing could be utilized as mail merges. Maybe some of you will remember mail merges from the day, and we could personalize the letters that we sent out to prospects and the sales brochures and everything with their personal information in there. There were database programs that were introduced that could work with your content creation programs like Microsoft Word processors, where you could merge in name, address, specific offers to specific people, and do it quickly and easily, at least relatively so. And interestingly, this mail merge approach, is what many marketers are still left with in 2020 and 2021. For every email that you get addressed to Dear First Name and then is completely irrelevant to you after that, that's a classic and simple mail merge technique. But today the abilities are far, far more sophisticated. Technology today has the ability to not only address by name or by other data attributes, but it can start to learn, and it learns based on your behavior, your content consumption, your context, your likes and dislikes, and even other things like geographic location, whether the weather is nice or very nasty, or whether you're going to assemble something and do something and create content that is only unique to you. But unique to you in a context that you find yourself in now. That's personalization, really looking at that. Artificial intelligence and the technology that is bringing on can evolve this technology very, very quickly and evolve the content for the consumer to the consumer. For example, there are technologies now that enable marketers to send a curated newsletter of stories that you might be interested in. But based on which news stories you click on and consumption of content you click on, well, it may slowly change that newsletter each week until it's actually predicting which stories you're going to find the most interesting on a week-by-week basis. So how should marketers really even start to think about all of this? I mean, increasingly, marketers are not only trying to create compelling and personalized experiences for their consumers, but in the approach of account-based marketing, we're trying to get more and more targeted accounts rolled up into all one, which might be multiple people that we're trying to really personalize content for. And at the core of this, of course, as we talked about at the beginning, this is the art and the science of knowing your audience. It's about knowing your customer so that you can be that personalized source, that friend, that knowing entity. And today, that knowing, well, it's all based on data. And as we've also come to realize, the quality of that data. Just because I know your name doesn't mean that I know you, and just because I scraped your content and consumption data off some shopping site, well, that doesn't mean I know what you're currently thinking about buying. Just think about the weeks after Christmas shopping for a moment. Even Amazon and some other sophisticated retailers, they're still personalizing the site to you, offering up advertising and content that thinks you're still shopping for a Barbie doll. And that's something you bought for your niece, well, almost 6 months ago. The critical factor is that data is assembled carefully, thoughtfully. That's when it can be used for personalization, when it can be thought of and carefully and judiciously managed. That's the heart of a great personalization strategy. And honestly, it's what separates a personalization and personal content strategy with a simple mail merge. And that is truly personal to me. Understanding your marketing video's performance can be like looking for a needle in a haystack. Vidyard's online video marketing platform is a magnet for your needle. Host all of your videos in Vidyard, measure their impact through video analytics and lead scoring, and integrate them into your email, content, and digital marketing strategies to help boost your brand awareness and lead generation efforts. Get ahead of your competition by integrating video throughout your entire funnel. Not only can video help drive pipeline, it can help build stronger relationships with your customers. Get started for free at vidyard.com/marketing. So we're back. Personalization. Well, whether it's for a person or a group of people that we call an account, it's about knowing. It's about understanding who these people are and being able to deliver the personal, not just personalized content. Here's what I mean by that. Ask yourself, what is the most interesting piece of personalized content I got in the mail last week, either digital or offline? Interestingly, in almost every case, the content itself, wasn't personalized at all, I'll bet. It was relevant. It was exceptional content, if you remember it. It was immediately shared with your colleagues, your family, your loved ones, your friends, etc. But it was probably not personalized in the way that we think of, hey, first name, we know you live here and you live there. It was not personalized, but it was personal. But here we are in 2021, and personalization of content is now frequently mentioned as one of the biggest drivers of marketing and content priorities. And what's powering the ability to meet this demand? Well, it is data, and specifically the unification of data, the ability to know who our audience is and where they are so that we might actually deliver relevant and personal content. But this is the part where it can get really overwhelming and scary because we just need to acquire this knowledge, this data, in the right way. In other words, just scraping the data or just stealing it or just making sure that we get it in the transaction for something is not going to give us the quality to make things personal. It may give us the ability to make things personalized, but really to understand if it's personal, we have to know the context and the emotion in which it was given. That's the way that we know the person, we know the audience. So of course, this is first-party data, and this is the real prize for personal content as well as personalization and account-based marketing that targets contents to accounts. You need to build an ever more robust first-party data repository, and you have to, and you need to, imbue them with 3 distinct categories. So, what are those categories, and how can we start to think about this in a little bit of a better way? The first is, of course, explicit data. Data you ask for directly. Explicit data helps you develop deeper, more trusting relationships with customers, where you can turn into more valuable conversations with them based on their preference. Explicit data might be my name that I give you, my address that I give you, my preferences that I give you, my specific idea about what I want. Those are things that are explicitly given to us by an audience to help us know them better. But then there's a second category, and that second category is implicit data. Now, the implicit data is the behavioral insight. It's not what I say, it's what I do, and what we can observe indirectly of our audiences. Now, this is watching their behavior on our site or adding it to their profile as they start to consume content that they like or want to share. Implicit data, it helps us develop empathy. Empathy for the customers in determining what it is they really are looking for versus what it is they're telling us that they're looking for, so that we can start to compare those things and make better decisions about how we know them. And then lastly is what we might call ambient data. And data that is coming from us from an ambient perspective gives us the ability to provide context and situational awareness of the customer's need. This is the classic scene in the Italian restaurant when you walk in with your spouse versus when you walk in with your kids. That observation is ambient data. I know how to make a change and react differently based on that context. This data can inform how do we and when do we personalize and distinguish our brand's content offering based on making a decision about what the particular context is in any given moment. This is the perfect example of where we might offer raincoats instead of sun hats because guess what? When the shopper is coming to our website, it's raining where they are versus being bright and sunny. Or if they're coming to us from the south where it's hot in the wintertime, we can offer them a specific product versus if they're coming from the north that's coming in and offering them a different product because we know it's snowing there. Finding the right combination of explicit, implicit, and ambient data is the critical piece for content marketers and marketing people more generally to make personal content and personalization or account-based marketing really work. For example, I explicitly shared with a publisher that I'm interested in content topics, that are relevant to business and marketing. This provider dutifully emails me articles related to those topics. However, I rarely click through the links on those emails. And so I also read the publisher's finance articles that I sometimes see through social media or see on their website. And I find them interesting because, whether I search for them or whether I stumble upon them, I find those more interesting. Well, if my behavioral data were to be included in that email newsletter, they might start to recognize that what I asked for isn't actually what I like and what I do. Therefore, they might start sprinkling in some more finance articles because that's my behavior versus what I explicitly told them, and start to update that newsletter just for me. See, it's the combination of these three data types that enables me to become the restaurant owner. To know my customers, to know them so well that I can deliver pre-prepared content, the coloring books or the dark table in the back. I don't have to have millions of iterations. I've got specific plays that I can make based on the combination of all of that data together to give me a situational awareness. I can deliver a personal experience so that they feel like that their experience is one made specifically for them. And well, that's what we're after, isn't it? Personal more than personalized? You see, ironically, the more personalized a piece of content is, the less likely it is to be shared with friends, family, and colleagues. Think about it for a second. When was the last time you shared a piece of content that was truly personalized for you? What we want to share and what we truly find joy in and thus remember as an experience is seeing ourselves in the relevant and extraordinary content that's meant for a wider group. When our audience asks, how did they know I needed this right now? That's when we win. So especially for content strategies focused on marketing purposes, I'd like us to think about audience-focused or persona-ized content instead. That's where I'd like to see our greater priority. This is content that is meant for a wider group, not just one person, but is delivered in a contextual and personal way, in a way that creates value specifically for a higher percentage of people in that wider group. Driven by explicit, implicit, and ambient data, given freely, given willingly, given trustingly, given with emotion, it's delivered so that we can know the audience better. It's delivering the personal rather than the personalized. Personal content is what enables a company to rise above the noise while also avoiding the need to scale to every single platform that emerges. In short, instead of focusing on delivering the right message to the right person at the right time, successful personal content strategies are creating the right value to the right audience in their time. Until I see you next month, it's your story to tell. Tell it well.